Milwaukee to Chicago, then continue on to Kalamazoo, Michigan. Friends reported he did not use his electronic ticket to board the train and that he has a medical history of strokes. You can see a photo of Livingston on our website, WTMJ.com. A $700 million construction project in downtown Milwaukee has stalled. Real estate company Neutral planned to redevelop the site of the Marcus Center parking garage, but negotiations between the city and developer have not started. Milwaukee Alderman Bob Bauman told our partners at the Milwaukee Business Journal the deal is dead in the water. Editor-in-Chief Timothy Gibbons tells Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News.
The crux of the matter is the city, or the alderman in particular, does not want to move ahead until Neutral signs up a financing partner. Neutral says they cannot sign up a financing partner until the city moves ahead. So you have a chicken and egg situation there that is going to be, frankly, kind of hard to resolve.
Gibbons says the company is moving forward on construction of the delayed Edison apartment project. Sports, traffic, and weather are next. Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time 7:03.
It's here on consignment from over 10,000 nationwide partners. From very high-end, distinctive furniture, unique antiques and original art, to tasteful home decor that can fit almost any budget. Premium home decor priced right at 25 to 40% off retail prices. This is Katie with Design Exchange, where discerning buyers with discriminating tastes come to find premium home decor at a value. Design Exchange in Heartland and Pewaukee.
Design Exchange.
Smart interior designers know that what they'll see here is going to be almost impossible to find anywhere else, especially at our consignment prices. Premium home decor that's gently loved and close to new. And what we carry can raise the wow factor of anyone's home decor. This is Katie with Design Exchange, where discerning buyers with discriminating tastes come to find premium home decor at a value. Design Exchange in Heartland and Pewaukee.
Design Exchange.
Get the last roof you'll ever need with steel roofing from Menards. Steel roofing is durable, offering your home the best protection from wind, hail, and fire. Choose from 29 stylish colors that not only enhance the appearance of your home, but will reduce cooling costs and keep your home more comfortable all summer long. Plus, check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for more great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update from the Gruber Law Office's One Call That's All Sports Desk. The Brewers lost to the Padres in a 1-0 game this afternoon. Monday night, they welcome the Atlanta Braves to American Family Field. Coverage starts at 6:05. Taking a look at the roads with your WTMJ Time Saver traffic. Pretty clear on the roads at this point. No major incidents and no delays. Time for the WTMJ 5-day forecast. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, a low of 56. Monday, mostly cloudy and breezy, scattered showers and storms, a high of 68. Tuesday, partly sunny and hazy. We could see a spotty shower, a high of 73. Wednesday, partly cloudy, warm and humid. Could see some storms towards the evening, a high of 84. On Thursday, we have a chance for thunderstorms, a high of 70. On Friday, mostly cloudy with scattered rain showers, a high of 68. Right now in Madison, it's 70 degrees. In Green Bay, it's 67. In Waukesha, it's 68. And in Milwaukee, it's 66 degrees. I'm Jessica Gatso, Outdoor Living Unlimited. WTMJ News Time is 7:06.
This is The Truth Unfiltered with Denise Thomas and Dr. Ken Harris.
Black women have and will continue to be targeted when they show up in spaces where we were not originally built in the minds of the establishers. And Angel Reese, she's not just showing up, Dr. Ken. She's showing out and she's shaking the table.
I've known of, and I think I've met Judge Dugan on numerous occasions. She is a absolute phenomenal jurist. Like she has a very sharp, very open legal mind. Hands down, phenomenal judge. But when you let your personal beliefs overshadow federal law, state law, your ethics, you're done.
Live at the Avenue, here's Denise Thomas and Dr. Ken Harris.
That's me playing the piano. I don't even know what that is. What is that? You're listening to Truth Unlimited with your host.
Unlimited?
Dr.
Wait a minute.
Unlimited.
You didn't change the name of the show?
I changed the name of the show. It's Unlimited. We just gonna go forever.
It's your world, Dr. Ken. It's no longer Truth Unfiltered. It's Truth Unlimited. Okay, it's your world.
Okay. Good evening. Good evening, Denise Thomas. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm so excited to be back. How are you, Dr. Ken? DT is back.
Yep.
It's been an incredible 2 weeks. I was in Paris and then Japan.
I don't want to hear about it because I know you was jet set. I don't. You just kind of. That's that's that poke in the side. I said it was such a rough trip to Paris.
I never said
I had
that.
to cross the whole continent and get to Japan.
I never said that. It was a wonderful, seamless.
I'm sure it was.
Birthday celebration.
I'm sure it was.
And I'm excited to be back, but I'm also looking forward to the return to Japan.
I don't even want to know.
The only regret that I have.
What happens in Japan?
Oh, it was
stays in Japan. What's his name?
Why does everybody keep saying that? Like, I was literally talking to my financial advisor, and I said, "Yeah, I'm looking forward to going back." And he was like,
"What's his name?"
Oh, so you right? No. Why does it have to be because of a man?
I would make a joke, but I'm not.
Well, he made several that I can't disclose on the air because they were quite inappropriate. But
look, we're all the same side. Okay, I just.
Boy, I tell you.
Woo! You said it's Truth Unfiltered, right? I tried to say Unlimited, and everybody wanted
that's
to be
not my truth.
Unfiltered, so
we have a great show tonight. So much going on.
Yes, it is.
You see how I did that? I went right to the subjects of the show. The jury finds Maxwell Anderson guilty on all 9 counts of Sade Robinson's murder. And I, for one, was good with the verdict. However, Sade Robinson, although I didn't know her personally, she will never come back.
Yep.
And, the coverage of this story, both nationally and globally. Sorry, there's like a stupid gnat in my office. But anyway, the coverage that has taken place around the world, and to see that Maxwell Anderson was guilty on all counts. And the thing is, he was found guilty for first-degree intentional homicide. And he was found guilty for dismembering or mutilating a corpse. He was also found guilty of arson because he burnt Sade Robinson's car in an attempt to destroy evidence, which goes back to the intentional homicide count. And then he hid a corpse. He hid her corpse. In addition to dismembering. Like, that's how disgustingly sick this monster is. And so he was charged with concealing her remains and violating the legal duties relating to disposing of a body.
Yep.
It's important that we know that.
And reporting someone's death. Yeah.
And so basically during this trial, which although, I no longer live in Milwaukee, but I did everything I could to leverage technology, Dr. Ken, to watch the trial. And kudos to the city of Milwaukee for allowing the media to be in the courthouse and make this public. But man, when I tell you, there were so many images, Dr. Ken, that were so disturbing.
Yeah.
There's one, I guess for lack of better words, there was one video where you could see them moving inside of his apartment. And then fast forward, you just see him leaving. And at that moment, you realize that, it confirmed that Maxwell Anderson and Sade Robinson were together and returned to his apartment.
Right.
but he left by himself. Yep. In terms of two human beings that were alive when they entered his apartment, only one left alive. And, there were just so many disturbing images that showed Sade Robinson incapacitated on Anderson's couch. And, to know that he took her to Lake Michigan, took her body to Lake Michigan, and you've got all these different, body parts being discovered. It was just, and we need to be this graphic because, again, she was a human being.
Yep.
She was someone's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
She was a beautiful young lady. And I am glad that the strength of the verdict on all counts, and if you haven't already heard, Maxwell Anderson is now going to serve a mandatory life sentence. And the formal sentencing is going to be scheduled for August 15th. But he will be sentenced based on first-degree homicide conviction.
Well, and they'll add the other, and by the time they're done piling on, he'll die, and then they'll put him back in jail so that he could stay there for the other 30, 40 years that they'll pile on top of that, just to be sure he doesn't get out.
So, Doctor, can I have a question for you, and I have a question for our listeners. What struck you the most about this case, about the verdict? Because, again, this man, this monster of a man, he planned all of this. Mm-hmm. I remember when I was co-hosting Truth Be Told with DT and Telly, and I was talking about the fact that was it Dick's?
Mm-hmm.
The bar?
Yeah.
Let's just start there. That allowed him to bring an underage
one of the bars
person.
Right.
One of the bars,
yep.
Which he knew. He knew the people there, and I don't know exactly who he knew, but this was all intentional. It was calculated. It was premeditated. And so for him to have had an agenda to murder this young lady who obviously was excited and vulnerable, what struck you the most? Because again, there were so many different elements of this trial, of this case.
The thing that struck me the absolute most, and the thing that I told people, and they kind of looked at me like, well, why does that matter? They spent 30 minutes one day and 21 minutes the next day. That's it. That was the jury deliberation. 51 minutes, less than an hour total. So
that's straight. Okay.
That spoke volumes to me because that meant they had made up their mind. Like, let's take an initial vote. I've been on juries before. First thing you do, you go in, they read you the jury instructions. They read them out loud in court. You go back, you're sequestered, and you go through the jury instructions again. Anybody have any questions about the instructions that the judge read? Any instructions that are sitting in front of you? The chairman or chairwoman goes through everything. Then count one, boop, vote. You take an initial vote just to get the flavor of who goes what way, what things need to be explained. It took 5 minutes just to get in and 5 minutes to get out. So they took 20 minutes the first day and said, okay, we're good, and just went through the counts, voted. Next day, went back through. Any change of heart, we're at 100%. You got 12, done. So I'm like, that struck me because the way that the defense did their job, and don't let anybody fool you. Cotton is a very, very good defense attorney. Smartest thing he did, he didn't let anybody come in to be on, I refuse to say the monster's name, on his side to do anything. He didn't present any witnesses. He didn't present anything. Why? Because you can't explain the grotesque thing that this man did. You can't. He would have ruined his own career. And now, and by the way, tomorrow, 9 a.m., Attorney Cotton is on Sherwin Hughes' show.
Wow.
So one of the things we have to be thankful for is somewhere in the back of his mind, he knew he had to do his job. He's a member of the bar. He has to give a vigorous defense. But how do you defend that? Like, how do you? And the evidence, though circumstantial, was so overwhelming. Like, how do you argue? You just let fate take its course, and it did. And
So do you think, or do you feel that, because one of the things that you highlighted, Dr. Ken, was the speed in delivering the verdict,
Right.
which I agree.
Right.
Do you associate that speed with swift justice, or was this based on public pressure?
I don't.
Because like I said, this case was getting coverage all over the world.
I don't think public pressure played a part. I think people, when you're given jury instructions and when you're in that space, very, very little outside world plays a part in how you make your decision. Because if you mess it up, you can get yourself in trouble. So I don't think that played a part. I think it came down to the prosecution connected the dots, and the defense attorney did not give any plausible information that made me have reasonable doubt. It would have been unreasonable doubt to think that he didn't kill her. So he's going to jail. Well, prison.
Well, this presents, again, generally speaking, black and brown perspectives on justice.
Yep.
Isn't usually in high numbers in terms of justice being served. However, the performance of justice with this particular trial, this high-profile trial, are we do we really want justice, or which I feel that the verdict was definitely a demonstration of that. But how does this case impact similar cases going forward? Is it going to raise the bar for accountability and justice? Is it going to allow the family members to heal? Like, what's next for our community where these types of crimes take place? And Sade Robinson isn't the first.
Correct. And unfortunately,
will not be the last.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
And, on a personal note, that's why, how do I say this? Is the truth unfiltered? I don't use dating apps. I used to. I don't use online dating apps. And, I don't discriminate. As a single woman, I will date whomever in terms of straight or heterosexual men. But there is, since we're on the subject, there is this gut feeling of if I decide to date outside of my race, especially if I decide to date a white man via an online dating app, could I potentially be next? Because the reality is that there are so many cold cases in this country, cases that go back late 70s, early 80s, where black women are missing. And 90% of these cases of where black men are missing are usually associated with the last time they were seen was when they were on a date with someone.
Interesting. Very interesting. 855-616-1620 is the Citing Unlimited WTMJ talk and text line. What are your thoughts about this trial? What are your thoughts about the verdict?
Well, on our talk and text line, 855-616-1620, Peter shares, I'm still thinking that despite the fact that he got caught, Maxwell Anderson, and was convicted, what heinous acts he accomplished by himself in only a few hours once Sade Robinson came to his home leads me to believe that he might have had prior victims that somehow haven't been missed, especially since investigators found other identified women's clothing and even an ID in his basement rafters. Glad he's going to prison, but wonder how many times he committed crimes like this. That's a great question.
Yes,
That's a valid question.
And when we come back, we're going to dive into just that. And I've got an interesting take for you when we come back. You're listening to The Truth Unlimited. She is the effervescent, there's the smile, Denise Thomas. I'm Dr. Ken Harris. We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, it's Julia Fallow with Wisconsin's Afternoon News.
And it's Brandon Snide, the producer of the program.
Hey, Summerfest is almost here.
The music, the food, all the things that make Summerfest great, and we're going to send you
to all 9 days.
It's Summerfest on us.
Keep it tuned to WTMJ for your chance to win tickets every single day of Summerfest.
We'll have your opportunity on our show, Wisconsin's Afternoon News, to go to Summerfest on us.
Happy Summerfest from all of us on WTMJ.
If you're trying to get through your daily activities and you're noticing you can't because you're focusing more on your pain than being able to enjoy the moment, those are the patients that we're looking to treat because we can make a difference.
That's Dr. Ashley Caravelli, Milwaukee's medical director for QC Kinetics.
What we're doing at QC Kinetics is offering treatments that help with joint preservation. We use cutting-edge technology in our in-house lab to harness your body's natural healing powers and target the areas where you need them the most.
These are regenerative, non-surgical treatments, and QC Kinetics is the nation's leader, delivering lasting relief to tens of thousands of patients.
What we do know is that the sooner we start treatment, the sooner you'll see relief.
So don't wait another minute. See if you're a good candidate for these non-surgical treatments for joint pain. The consultation is completely free.
Weekend appointments available. Call now. 414-285-3474. That's 414-285-3474. 414-285-3474.
Networks, streaming services, retail chains, and tech giants are all adding plus to their names. But where did the concept originate? We may be biased, but we think these big wigs found their inspiration for plus at Hassellus Mattress. Hassellus showrooms are employee-free. Give your mattress a try with no pushy sales guy. Plus, our 35 beds from the top 5 brands start at $393. Plus, unbeatable prices on Tempur-Pedic. Plus, free next day delivery and setup. Plus, free haul away and disposal of your old mattress. Plus, 60-month interest-free financing on select Tempur-Pedic with approved credit. Plus, a $300 MasterCard gift card with your Tempur-Pedic mattress. Plus, a ruggedly handsome spokesman with a smooth radio voice. Get all this, plus a whole lot more when you shop at Hassellus Mattress. Or maybe we should change our name to Hassellus Plus. Nah. Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you or shop online at hassellus.com.
Welcome back to The Truth Unfiltered with Denise Thomas and Dr. Ken Harris.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Maxwell Anderson, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in count 1 of the information. As to count 2, we, the jury, find the defendant, Maxwell Anderson, guilty of mutilating a corpse as charged in count 2 of the information. As to count 3, we, the jury, find the defendant, Maxwell Anderson, guilty of arson of property other than a building as charged in count 3 of the information. As to count 4, we, the jury, find the defendant, Maxwell Anderson, guilty of hiding a corpse as charged in count 4 of the information.
You know, Dr. Ken, thank goodness for surveillance and video footage. And although I'm sure it was very difficult for Sade Robinson's family to witness and watch the video footage, however, I'm sure there's an element of thankfulness because the evidence, in terms of just giving you a snapshot of evidence, they had video footage that confirmed Maxwell Anderson and Sade Robinson had went out together and then returned to his apartment. And they even had images that showed Sade Robinson incapacitated on Anderson's couch, which, by the way, one juror called those photos a mic drop, which probably plays a significant role in the less than an hour jury deliberation.
Oh, yeah.
Because anytime you have overwhelming evidence like that, or excuse me, I said it backwards. Anytime you have a fast jury deliberation, the strength of that verdict is heavily based on the evidence.
And so what people should probably understand is fast doesn't mean convicted. Fast can also be acquitted. That means that one side did their job so significantly that they left no doubt, or they left all doubt. So when they acquit, it can be 51 minutes and they go, nope, not guilty, done. Or it can be flip. And so literally when they say a jury of your peers, you're kind of there, and they decide and hold your life in their hands, and they did. I think they made the wise choice based on the evidence that was submitted, and that prosecutor did a phenomenal job.
Kudos to the prosecuting team, the prosecutors, because Sade Robinson was a beautiful 19-year-old young lady who was excited about this first date with Maxwell Anderson. And, it's interesting because not much public information has been released about his background.
Right.
But what we do know is that his interaction with 19-year-old Sade Robinson started with this first date, and Anderson had planned the crime months in advance and prepared tools in his basement. So this goes back to our valued listener, Peter, who says, I think that Maxwell Anderson had prior victims that potentially could have been missed.
But remember, there was no blood and no DNA anywhere in his house, tools, nothing. And so I was talking to our teammates, Vince Vitrano and Eric Bilstad, last Wednesday, and they said, well, what does that mean if they didn't find anything? I said, well, either he's really good at what he did, but we're talking about a guy where we still haven't found all the body parts. That's one. Number two, and I threw this out, and it was, I got to admit it, ego aside, it was a drop the mic moment. You sure he was alone? You sure he's the only one? It could be a group. It could be 2 or 3 people. It could be a woman. It could be, I said, things like that don't just happen. It was planned. It was staged. And we didn't find any DNA. Do you know how difficult it is? I cut my finger. I'm leaving blood on the clothes. I'm leaving it on the floor. I'm leaving it on this, and then I wash it, and blood goes down the drain. I'm leaving DNA all down that drain. Like, it's everywhere. Nothing. Zero. Not on the tools, not on the knives. Nothing. So that leads me to think, taking it the extra step, well, who else helped him then? Who helped him?
As a mother, because remember that the family is still grieving. I mean, this just happened April of 2024, and the way that it happened. I will say this, Dr. Ken, to your point.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was Maxwell Anderson acting alone in this vicious, monstrous, disgusting, inhumane crime, or others were involved, we also have to ask ourselves, as members of the Black and Brown community, how might the verdict of this case impact similar cases going forward? And will it raise the bar for accountability? And will it send a message? Like, what's next for our community in Milwaukee where this crime took place? And, you know, is healing and reform even possible? That's the question that I really want us to, you know, is like, where do we go from here?
I think people should understand that every case has its own set of facts, and you can't transfer a verdict from one case and say this verdict should have been an acquittal or a guilty verdict as well, because the circumstances are completely and totally different and unrelated. And so when I hear people say justice, I said justice was served, but justice wasn't had, because if we had justice, Anderson would end up like Sade, and he didn't. For me, that's justice. We don't have the death penalty here. So when I hear justice served, that drives me to think at some point, this is why we need people to step up and go serve on a jury. You can't complain, whatever your reason is for why you think something went away or didn't go away. If you don't serve when you get the summons, that's on you. Now, there's a statistic out there that shows that defendants, when they sit through their own trial, pay attention, help out, allow the, help the defense do their job, even when they're found guilty, the majority of them, and I mean a super majority of them, believe justice was served, even when they're found guilty, because they sat and watched from beginning to end everything. And so I would be interested to hear if there's anybody who sat through the trial and watched every moment of it and then make a decision versus the bits and pieces we hear on the news. Because most defendants who actually get sent to prison, you'll ask them. Some people will be like, oh, my God, you got railroaded. They'll tell you, yeah, it was fair, and they got me. And so I don't think there should be anything from Maxwell. Of course, Cotton said he was going to file an appeal, but that's normal. Anybody that gets a life sentence, they usually file an appeal. Hopefully they'll tell him no.
I can't wait to hear this interview. Now, I know we got to take a break on Sherwin Chilless tomorrow morning or Monday morning at 9 a.m. We got to take a break. When we come back, speaking of justice, Milwaukee is currently seeing a 15% rise in homicides, and the community is calling for action. So as we're talking about justice ain't just what happens in the courtroom. It's what happens in the streets. It's what happens in our homes and what happens in our hearts. So stay tuned, because when we come back, we're going to continue to talk about crime, as again, Milwaukee is seeing a 15% rise in homicides, and the summer is just around the corner. You are listening to The Truth Unfiltered with DT and Dr. Ken Harris on WTMJ and 101.7 The Truth. Stay locked in. We will be back.
So I was at a family get-together, and my aunt and I were putting the finishing touches on dinner. And she said, honey, could you grab the dressing out of the fridge? Well, when I opened the refrigerator door, I noticed something. And I said, Aunt, it looks like a shelf in there is missing. What happened? And she replied, oh, your uncle tipped a wine bottle in there, and one of the glass shelves shattered. And I'm certainly not going to buy a new fridge because of that. And I said, well, Aunt, my business solves problems like that. Just give me the dimensions of the glass and we'll have it replaced, and the shelf will be good as new. And she said, I never thought of that. And that's what made me think of letting you know that if you have any kind of problem with glass, if you come see us, there's a pretty good chance we can solve it. This is Stacy Sinks with Less's Glass Service. If it's a new glass shower door, fogged or broken insulated glass replacement, or affordable glass and mirror home decor that you've been looking for, you just can't pass on Less's Glass. Less's Glass Service, serving all of southeastern Wisconsin. Find us at lessglassservice.com.
Slide into your neighborhood Century Food Store to score the freshest produce, tastiest treats, and everything in between. Now through Wednesday, save on 46 to 48 ounce selected varieties Blue Bunny Dairy Dessert, 2 for $7. 8.2 to 20 ounce selected varieties CPAC Seafood, $6.99. 7 to 15 ounce selected varieties Rana Pasta or Sauce, 2 for $7. 2 to 6 count selected varieties Northern Bath or Brawny Towels, $6.99.
Let's get some strawberries.
Attention shoppers. Safe.
Okay. Ooh, Pineapple fulfills every need.
While you're shopping, a drive way back, it's a gunner.
There's something goofy going on with the PA.
Need a price check and I'll take me out to the ball game.
See, what is going on?
You're hearing things. We're at Century Foods, and you can't take your mind off winning that ultimate baseball fan sweepstakes.
I'm hoping to throw out the first pitch at a Milwaukee baseball game.
Or attend batting practice.
Or hold the finish line ribbon for the racing sausages.
You don't say.
The ultimate baseball fan sweepstakes at Century Foods. Enter on Century's Facebook or Instagram by July 30th.
This is The Truth Unfiltered with Denise Thomas and Dr. Ken Harris.
Unfortunately, we've seen a spate of gun violence as of late in Milwaukee, including just yesterday along West Hampton Avenue, where people unfortunately lost their lives because some folks decided to be irresponsible with guns. They decided to partake in gun violence, and people got hurt, and people were killed. That is totally unacceptable.
You're listening to Truth Unfiltered. I'm your host, Dr. Ken Harris, along with Denise Thomas. And if you think that, last night, 4 people hurt in a shooting near the Deer District.
Okay, so I'm just going to say it like this. I'm not even going to try to be professional. I'm just going to say it because this is Truth Unfiltered. Every single time, every day, I log in to local Milwaukee news. The top headlines have everything to do with homicide, whether it's gun violence, whether it's a hit and run. It every single day. And it's not as though violence isn't an epidemic across the country. But when you look at the size, the population of Milwaukee, and the number of people that are dying every day, and the type of people in terms of race and gender that are we're talking about real lives. There's no coming back from death.
Yep.
And so, this is not just a statistic. I mean, we have to, Dr. Ken, I get it. We have to share the data elements in terms of, this 15% rise in homicides. And if you just tuned in, that's Mayor Cavalier Johnson's voice, who you just heard, who's recently addressing this. But this is not just a statistic. This is someone's son, daughter, friend. And so what now? When is this going to change? How do 15%? That's not a bump, Dr. Ken. That's a red flag. What is driving this violence in our city, in the city of Milwaukee, Wisconsin?
Are we, once we find out, here's my question. I agree. We need to know what's driving it. We kind of have an idea what's driving it between the poverty and the homelessness and the parenting, all those things, right? Drug. You have myriad things in a community that when these things happen, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, male, female, doesn't matter. When certain things are present, bad stuff happens. My question is, once we find out what those bad things are, when we answer your question, does the black community, and let's be clear, this is Truth Unfiltered, many of these homicides are happening in the black community, and they're killing our young men. 4 people shot, 3 22-year-olds and a 23-year-old shot last night. They're at the hospital. They're expected to live, but that's not the point. The point is, you got shot. What is going to be done in our community, in the black community, to correct some of the drift that we've seen? Because I don't think it was this bad 20 years ago.
So, Dr. Ken, I'm just going to give you my quick 2-second response in terms of what needs to happen. And I'm not discounting or disregarding the realities of poverty, homelessness, systemic racism as it relates to policies. But the ultimate solution in all of this, I promise you, Dr. Ken, this would go away tomorrow. if this country, if this state of Wisconsin, and if this city would make gun access illegal. And let me further validate that point. This is the only country, well, I don't want to say the only country, but this is one of the few countries on planet Earth that allow any and everybody to have the right to bear arms. And the reason why I say any and everybody, because you got parents who buy guns for their kids. And we see how that works with the mass shootings that occur at schools. If Dr. Ken, this is so simple. I just came back from Japan. And as I'm walking the streets, and whether it was daylight or whether it was at nighttime, I didn't have the fear of someone walking in and just randomly shooting people, because it's illegal. You don't have access to guns in countries like Japan, in countries like England. Now, what you do find is these maniacs that are using their automobiles to drive into crowds. However, going back to this subject matter, gun violence is gun violence because people have easy access to guns. Period.
I have to push back some, only because it's a constitutional right. That's one, under certain circumstances. I think what part of that issue, and it's along the same lines, I'm not for getting rid of guns, because if you go to England, what you'll find is that there are more homicides with stabbing now, and because they don't have access to guns. What England did is say, you get a gun, you use it, we find that you did it illegally, you didn't have a permit, blah, 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 boop, 10 years. And that's it, 10 years. So I agree with that. The other part of that is that we need to come to grips with the fact that the gun didn't kill the person did it and used the gun or a knife or a car and so I don't know if the proliferation of guns is the reason why we're doing it, or I could not use that word.
When I was growing up,
we don't raise our children right.
When I was growing up, I ran up my parents' phone bill to $600 because I was talking to this boy who attended college at Wilberforce University. I never forget this. This is before. So for the younger generation that's listening, yes, you used to have to pay to make a phone call that was outside of the state that you resided or where your phone service was. Now, when my father discovered that I had ran up his phone bill, and this was back in the this was back in the early 90s, because $600 is still a real number, especially for a cell phone bill or for a phone bill.
Today.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, so you can imagine what it was.
That's like you running up a $1,000 phone bill back then. Wow.
My
and
father.
Still here?
Man, don't even get me. That's a whole nother like Truth Unfiltered.
Know.
But here's the thing. Going back to your point, I was still here, but guess what my father did immediately upon discovering that I ran up the cell phone bill? What do you think he did? Immediately, he removed my access to what? The telephone.
Yep.
Because that was the fundamental tool that allowed me to run up $600 worth of phone calls or long distance phone calls.
That's a lot.
I get the people that are, for the right to bear arms. I understand it's a constitutional right, but I do not think that the men that authored the United States Constitution, when they were writing, is it the First Amendment or the Third?
Second Amendment.
Second.
Keep and bear arms.
Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, did not design that based on what we're seeing now. I mean, mothers are burying their kids. And kids are living with trauma like this is normal. And when people say, well, guns don't kill people, people kill people. If you have access to a gun, that gives you access to kill. It's like a license to kill. And it's not what guns in this situation were designed for. So I don't know what it's going to take, but as long as people have access to guns, especially those that do not have the responsibility, the understanding, the psychological safety of what having a gun involves, then we're going to continue to see this number rise. That's all I'm saying, Dr. Ken, is that we can't keep saying, well, it's a constitutional right. Because again, the Constitution, that Second Amendment, when was that authored? When was the U.S. Constitution?
Probably, let me see, 1775-ish.
Okay, so what are we talking about? It's almost 250 years later.
I totally disagree. I completely and totally 100% disagree. Thank God we got to go to break, so when we come back, we can argue about it, discuss it, kick it around. I agree in some aspects, and other aspects, I think we may be throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So,
all right, well, let me ask you this question to think about, and this is for our listeners too. Let me ask you this question to think about. If you had $100,000 to stop gun violence in Milwaukee, how would you spend it? Let's just go there. If you had $100,000 to stop gun violence in Milwaukee, how would you spend it? We come back from break. We're going to hear Dr. Ken's perspective. We want to hear from you too. Our talk and text line, and I apologize, the name of the sponsor again, Dr. Ken. I'm going to write this down so I don't forget.
Siding Unlimited, WTMJ talk and text line.
855-616-1620. We want to hear from you. And the person that said quite possibly the dumbest argument I've ever heard in my life, if that's the dumbest argument you've ever heard, you probably haven't heard too many. And if you want to argue, call in and give me your points. Because what we're not going to do is insult one another. If you disagree, then call in or send in your point. The name calling, it doesn't work with me. Stay locked in. We'll be back.
The 2015 Wisconsin men's hoops team gave us all a march to remember.
There will be no undefeated champion on Wisconsin with an unbelievable stretch drive to the championship game.
On June 26th, enjoy an intimate celebration with the stars of the run with Made 'em Believe. Presented by M3 Insurance. World-class expertise and individual attention. Tickets are on sale now at uwhoops2015.com. Made 'em Believe, June 26th at the Orpheum Theater in Madison.
Jake suffered with carpal tunnel syndrome.
Tingling numbness in my hands and fingers, not sleeping well at night, tossing and turning, trying to manage with pain pills and stretching, and it just wasn't helping.
He didn't want the traditional invasive carpal tunnel surgery.
I had seen people with the bandages and scars and clubs for hands. I just don't have time to be incapable of doing things for 6 to 8 to 10 weeks.
Then he learned about the Ovation Hand Institute and the Ovation Technique, an ultra minimally invasive procedure done in the office.
I wanted to get it looked at sooner than later. So I had the virtual consult. It was very thorough as far as like I was sitting in a doctor's office. I was booked for the procedure 2 weeks later, had my right hand done. Very quick procedure. It was really great. That very night when I went home, it was the first time in probably 3 months my hand did not wake me up.
Book an appointment with the Ovation Hand Institute and find out if you're a candidate for the Ovation Technique.
Probably the most surprising thing was how quickly I was able to do things again. I'm cooking dinner, I'm doing yard work and all that kind of stuff the next day.
Visit ovationhand.com. ovationhand.com.
The Cane Table from Penny Mustard is more than just a table.
It's hosted countless brunches and long conversations with friends.
It's served as an emergency office on snow days or when the kids come down with the crew.
It's seen its fair share of crumbs between the leaves.
Or drool from the dog waiting for food to drop.
The Cane Table is made for signing important documents,
holding family meetings,
and painstakingly piecing together puzzles.
It's headquarters for homework,
craft projects,
board games,
and the wrapping of various gifts.
The Cane's Encore chairs have been used to relax,
to build blanket forts,
or to help reach something on the back of the top shelf.
It's not about food.
It's about memories.
So it's gotta last.
It's made in the Midwest, so it will.
For generations to come.
The Cane Dining Room Table with 6 Encore chairs starting at $61.97 at Penny Mustard.
Showrooms in Milwaukee and Chicago.
PennyMustard.com.
Better versions of what people want.
Penny Mustard Furnishing.
You're listening to The Truth Unfiltered with Denise Thomas and Dr. Ken Harris.
I will not let their names fade into silence. I will carry them into every room where decisions are made, every space where change is possible. Exiel and Naya were more than victims. They were vibrant lives full of hope, stolen by a system that failed to protect them. I will channel my grief into action, my fear into purpose, and my voice into a force that demands a safer future.
You're listening to Truth Unfiltered, 620 WTMJ, 1017 The Truth. Denise Thomas, Dr. Ken Harris, we've been discussing the gun crimes and the homicides that are up 15%. We had 4 people shot the other day. We had 6 people shot the other day. 2 died. And 4 people shot on last night, Saturday night, Sunday morning. So you asked me a question about guns, and I am pro Second Amendment. We have a right, a constitutional right to keep and bear arms. Still got to do it safely. If you facilitate someone else committing a crime with a gun, then I believe you should be held accountable. Part of the issue I'm having is the secondary market. So Kenneth Thomas decides he wants to go buy a gun. So he goes out and he buys it. And they do a background check and they go through all the stuff you need, ID, everything. You're cleared. Now you have your weapon. The glitch is Kenneth Thomas now wants to sell his gun. Well, people have screamed and hollered and paid off legislators, giving money. Well, you should be able to, that gun should act freely. Well, no, it shouldn't. If you want to sell your gun to Denise Harris, then you need to fill out another form to notify the police or the FBI or ATF, whoever, that you sold your gun to Kenneth Thomas. That's it. That's the part we don't have, and that causes us not to be able to track guns. Not tracking guns allowed for the proliferation, like you said, and that I disagree with. We got too many guns. Too many people have access to too many guns. Too many people have access when they shouldn't have them. Going shooting with a rifle to go hunting with a kid is one thing. But when you actively give your child a gun, when you yourself go, he or she hasn't been acting right lately, and I know they had a little, but that's my little baby. Just like that family up in Michigan, they went after mom and dad and convicted them for giving their gun who had mental health issues. They just arrested the girl that shot up the place in Madison. They just went after the parents. Why? Because they gave her a weapon and they knew she had mental health issues. So I think it's a lot more. I think that's the part that you argued, that there's a proliferation and we need to get rid of it. I'm uncomfortable getting rid of guns per the U.S. Constitution because we'll end up like everywhere else. Only the bad guys have guns.
Well, let me just say this, Dr. Ken, and I agree with some of your points. Because our talk and text line is going bananas about my reference of, or my comparison, for lack of better words, to my dad taking away my phone. So let's be real. Comparing gun violence to a parent taking a phone away, right, it definitely, it's not the full picture.
Right.
Okay, so when my dad took my phone, to this caller's point, it was in a controlled environment with structure, guidance, and love.
And two parents.
But we're talking about communities flooded with illegal guns. Okay, let me just say that. We're not talking about the constitutional right of bearing arms legally.
Correct.
We're talking about communities that are flooded with illegal guns, underfunded schools, and systems that never gave folks like me, a black person, a fair start. So until you have lived or walked in that shoe, I need you to just listen for a second. Because if we treated gun violence like just one person's mistake, we are ignoring the broken environment. So I will take back the comparison, but let me just go back to this. We are ignoring the broken environment that keeps breeding tragedy. And we wouldn't just punish the kid. We would ask ourselves, in terms of picking up the phone, or in this case, why did you pick up the gun in the first place?
Right.
We're forgetting the whole concept of the right to bear arms is about protection. It could be, to your earlier point, Dr. Ken, taking your child hunting. That's not what's going on here.
Correct.
So let's talk about that before you say, well, why should we all get punished? We are. Because day after day, when I see people that look like me that have to bury their children because of illegal guns and underfunded schools and systems that never have given a you-know-what about us, don't make it isolated. You live here too.
You're listening to Truth Unfiltered. Denise Thomas, Dr. Ken Harris. News up next.
At QC Kinetics, we're all about keeping you in the game, helping you get lasting relief from joint pain. That's why we're excited to announce that QC Kinetics is now partnering with the National Pickleball League. So many of our satisfied patients are avid pickleball players, and they're thrilled with how we've helped them get back on the court. As lead sponsor of the National Pickleball League, we're committed to help pickleball fans of all ages with the latest, most advanced regenerative cell treatments. These treatments use your body's own healing power, revitalizing and restoring damaged joint tissue the natural way, with no drugs, no surgery, and no downtime. Whether you're a pickleball fanatic or enjoy golf or running or tennis, stay in the game with help from QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics, proud to promote active, pain-free living as a lead sponsor of the National Pickleball League. Call now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 414-285-3474. That's 414-285-3474. 414-285-3474.
Stay up to date with your trusted and relevant source in news, sports, traffic, and weather. We are Wisconsin's radio station. News Radio 620, WTMJ, Milwaukee.
At 8 o'clock, it's 67 degrees. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, a low of 56. Monday, mostly cloudy and breezy with scattered showers and storms, a high of 68. From the WTMJ Breaking News Center, I'm Jessica Gatzo. A child is dead after a boating accident on Little Muskego Lake. Police responded just after 10 a.m. Saturday to Idle Park in Muskego. A 74-year-old man and one other person on a boat struck a stationary boat with 3 people on board. A 10-year-old was injured and later died at the hospital. The cause of the accident remains under investigation. One person is dead after a motorcycle hit and run on Milwaukee's northwest side. It happened just after 8 p.m. Saturday near 76th and Florist when a motorcycle was hit by a car. The 40-year-old motorcycle driver died at the scene. Police are still looking for the driver of the car who fled. Protesters and the National Guard clash in Los Angeles. President Trump deployed the members of the Guard after 2 days of confrontations between demonstrators and immigration agents conducting deportation raids. CBS News correspondent Elise Preston has the latest.
Many of those rounded up so far have been barred from seeing attorneys, according to immigrant rights activist Angelica Salas.
This is atrocious what's happening right now. We all have always depended access to counsel, due process, an ability to fight your case.
According to ICE, nearly 130 people have been detained this weekend. Those numbers are expected to grow. Elise Preston, CBS News, Los Angeles.
It's the busiest season for national parks, but visitors may notice some changes due to cutbacks. More from CBS News correspondent Peter King.
Elon Musk may be gone, but his DOGE cuts could jeopardize operations, maintenance, and protection for 430 parks. Kristen Brangle is with the National Parks Conservation Association. She says staff reductions have come to this.
What I heard from the Yosemite people is that they ended up putting together a schedule and telling every sector of the park that everyone had to take time to clean a bathroom. Like scientists have been going and cleaning the bathroom.
She says she's hearing this from some staff members.
They might leave midway through the summer.
The cutbacks come after the Park Service hit a record high for visits last year. Peter King, CBS News.
Johnsonville plans to add 100 new jobs to Wisconsin. The additions come as the company closed a plant in Momency, Illinois last week, moving over 200 jobs to Wisconsin and Kansas. Johnsonville's Watertown facility will add 75 new jobs for a new second shift, and the Sheboygan Falls location will add 25 new jobs. Hiring at both locations is already underway. How difficult is it for a company to find their next CEO? John Madera with the CEO advisory group Russell Reynolds Associated tells Wisconsin's Midday News.
Boards are spending more time planning for succession. However, interestingly, as of late, we've been tracking how organizations, leaders within, outside of that CEO role feel about succession. And there is a lack of clarity and visibility to what's next. So there's a lot of angst in the system as it relates to CEO succession and just the CEO role itself.
Madera says companies are looking for leaders to both help company growth and pivot during difficult periods. Sports, traffic, and weather are next. Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time is 8:03.
When you come to our showroom, you'll find more than a dozen glass shower door displays. Now that's what you're going to want to see, because browsing a bunch of options usually spurs ideas that you've never even thought of. And when you walk around with one of our glass shower door experts, you can ask questions and get assurance. We're here to help. And after nearly 50 years in the glass shower door business, there's not a whole lot we haven't seen. So don't worry, your project's about to be put in the very best of hands. At Less's Glass Service, you can count on our experience that makes it easy to promise top-flight installation. Glass shower doors are our specialty, and we're out there humping it every day to add to our portfolio to make the next project even better than the last. This is Stacy Sinks. If it's a new glass shower door, fogged or broken insulated glass replacement, or affordable glass and mirror home decor that you've been looking for, you just can't pass on Less's Glass. Less's Glass Service, serving all of southeastern Wisconsin. Find us at lessglassservice.com.
Give Dad the ultimate gift this Father's Day with Skill Power Tools from Menards. Take on any project with power, precision, and durability. Whether you're drilling, sawing, sanding, or driving, Skill Power Tools deliver top performance to help you get the job done right. Don't miss out on big savings. Shop Skill Power Tools today and grab all your must-have tools at Menards. Plus, visit Menards.com to check out our latest flyer and discover all the great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
I gave it a shot, and I came in and had the procedure done. To me, it was amazing because I don't think I ever breathed that clear. I wish I would have done it 20 years ago.
Time for WTMJ Sports Update from the Gruber Law Office's One Call That's All Sports Desk. The Brewers lost to the Padres in a 1-0 game this afternoon. Monday night, they welcomed the Atlanta Braves to American Family Field. Coverage at 6:05. Game 2 of the NBA Finals is underway. Right now, a couple minutes left in the second quarter. Oklahoma is leading Indiana 54-39. Taking a look at the roads with your WTMJ Time Saver traffic. Pretty clear on the roads at this point. No major incidents and no delays. And taking a look at the WTMJ 5-day forecast. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, a low of 56. On Monday, mostly cloudy, breezy with scattered showers and storms, a high of 68. On Tuesday, partly sunny and hazy with a spotty shower, a high of 73. Wednesday, partly cloudy, warm and humid, storms towards the evening, a high of 84. On Thursday, a chance for thunderstorms, a high of 70. And on Friday, mostly cloudy with scattered rain, a high of 68. Right now in Milwaukee, it is 67 degrees. I'm Jessica Gatso, Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time 8:06.
This is The Truth Unfiltered with Denise Thomas and Dr. Ken Harris.
Black women have and will continue to be targeted when they show up in spaces where we were not originally built in the minds of the establishers. And Angel Reese, she's not just showing up, Dr. Ken. She's showing out and she's shaking the table.
I've known of, and I think I've met Judge Dugan on numerous occasions. She is a absolute phenomenal jurist. Like she has a very sharp, very open legal mind. Hands down, phenomenal judge. But when you let your personal beliefs overshadow federal law, state law, your ethics, you're done.
Live at the Avenue, here's Denise Thomas and Dr. Ken Harris.
You are listening to The Truth Unfiltered with DT and Dr. Ken Harris. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is Sunday, June 8th, or it could be Monday, June 9th, depending on what station you're tuning in, but we are so glad that you are here. We have been discussing the homicide rate here in the city of Milwaukee, and as of last week, it was reported that Milwaukee is seeing a 15% rise in homicides, and the community is calling for action. Mayor Cavalier Johnson, the mayor of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, has also made a public statement calling for an end to gun violence. Now, Dr. Ken, I've got two questions, one of which I had asked earlier. Number one, and this is for our valued listeners too, and we need to hear some voices. If y'all want to call in and let us know, we're live, 855-616-1620.
Our Siding Unlimited, WTMJ talk and text line.
Our Siding Unlimited talk and text line. So Dr. Ken, and thank you for that, Dr. Ken. This is why Dr. Ken is who he is. Now, I've got a question. I've got two questions.
Read phone numbers. Okay.
Your intellect, Dr. Ken. So I asked you before the break, if you had $100,000 to stop violence in Milwaukee, how would you spend it? Now, our talk and text line is blowing up. And a lot of people are siding with you, Dr. Ken, because they're like, look, this is not about revoking the Second Amendment of the right to bear arms. So my question, in addition to the first question, is what is one thing?
Okay.
Okay. In addition to $100,000, I am.
$100,000, okay.
So I'm going to start with you, Dr. Ken, and I want to hear from the listeners and the viewers, because you can stream and watch us live right now on 620 TMJ on YouTube, as well as X, formerly known as Twitter. What is one thing you believe that could prevent the next homicide in Milwaukee?
Create a system where the secondary sale of a gun has to be tracked. No, any subsequent sales after the initial buy have to be tracked by the ATF. You have to notify the proper information, and we need them to, like if I'm selling, just like a car, treat a gun like a car. You need to register it. If you change ownership, you need to fill out a piece of paper, send it to the DMV. Dr. Ken Harris owned it. Now Denise Thomas owns it, and she has to register it. If she doesn't register it over a certain time, state law says you get a ticket, all that stuff. We need all that stuff for guns. All this stuff will go away. Because now I can track it from you, and if you sold it to somebody or gave it to somebody and falsified the paper, boop, you're in jail. Like, all that needs to be in place. These knuckleheads that talk about, you have First Amendment rights. You do. It said to keep and bear, not to keep, bear, use illegally, allow it to be given to kids, all that. Make people... And I think you talked about it earlier about accountability. Make people accountable. And I think if you just follow the laws that we already have in place and prosecute people, it'll stop. But we don't. Now, I also have a counter argument for you.
Okay.
Okay. And I also have an answer, too. Gun deaths. In 2022, the gun death rate was 14.5 per 100,000 people. Now, we got 364-ish million people. That's a lot of people. 14.5 per 100,000 people was the gun death rate in 2022. Now, my question to you is, what do you think the death rate is for vehicle crashes?
Dr. Ken, I know you are not doing this. I know you are not comparing.
I'm comparing it, but it's my argument. So it's not diminishing anything. I'm making a point.
It is.
It's not. Okay, if that's how you feel, okay. I can respect that. So what do you think it is?
I don't care.
It's 13.4 per 100,000. One of the reasons we're able to keep that number down is because of registration. If you act a fool and drive a car, if you act a fool and use a car to kill somebody, we can track it. We know who you sold it to, and you go to jail. Why people are arguing that we can't do that with guns makes no sense to me.
Well, if that's the case, then why do we have all this erratic behavior with people driving? And I'll use the Kia boys as an example of hit and runs. So I don't want to digress. Okay. I don't want to get into the whole, hit and run and erratic behavior when you're operating a motor vehicle. I want to stay with this gun violence thing, because at the end of the day, whether it was 100, 200, or in this case, 14, a little above 14%, these are lives. These are lives that could be, and a lot of our listeners that are sending in their thoughts on the text line, which I appreciate, they keep saying kids. It's not just kids. I mean, I'm not discounting that there are children, and when I say kids, between any person under the age of 18 to me is a child. But we also have adults that are walking in to public facilities, whether it's a school, grocery store, church, and opening fire with a gun. And by the way, these aren't like Glocks. These are like AK-47s, automatic rifles. Having a gun is one thing. These are machines that the military uses. And yet people still can go into a gun shop and buy it. Because when you own a Glock, that's one thing. But when you own an automatic rifle that can literally, within you inserting the magazine, and I mean, it's just, come on now. What are we talking about? And it's not even just the gun, it's the type of gun.
But understand that an automatic weapon has to be made automatic. Those are not for sale. You can't buy those.
I don't pretend to be an expert when it comes to guns, and I'm proud of saying that.
Okay.
I don't want to be an expert when it comes to guns. Now,
but
I know
in America,
you
cannot buy an automatic weapon. They are literally against the law.
But yet people still have access.
Because, well, they take the gun and they reconfigure it and remove certain things off of it. And so I think part of stopping that is what we talked about, that secondary. If you sell that gun you initially bought, we need a registration of that. And we can track people. And if a gun is used, we can go all the way back through and figure out what went wrong and prosecute that person. Then it'll stop. But I'm kind of in agreement with you about this whole talking text line. It's yeah.
I don't know this person's name. Their number ends in 3015. Let me see. Back in 88, I visited 20 to 30 welfare mothers every day in the area of the expressway north to Burleigh from 20th to 50th Street. The one situation I remember most, 2:30 in the afternoon in April, a nice day, a lot of people in the porch. I kind of wondered why. Little kids were coming home from school to police cars pulled up behind me, jumped out with a gun, ran past me. I put my hands in the air, but they ran past into a yard about 3 houses down. I asked the little kids, I would say 5 to 8 years old, what's all the excitement? How come the police are here? Their answer was, oh, Johnny shot Joey. Those are not the names, but what struck me is it was a normal part of these kids' lives. Something I hope all 5 through 8 year olds never have to go through. Well, they are going through it.
Yep.
They are.
Yep.
They're going through it. So now what? Because we keep talking about the same thing over and over again. We keep hearing our city leaders saying this must stop. This must end. What are we doing?
Are we telling people that something is wrong? Are we telling people things they do are wrong? I would expect, and I think I can go out on a limb and say this because I know you and you know me. I don't want to think how long because then it'll reveal both of our ages. But I think if I do something that's egregious, I'll be trying to walk out the door, and you'll have my coattail pulling me back in the room going, hey, dude, like, what? Don't do that. Like, I'm not even asking. I'm not saying, why'd you do it? I'm telling you, don't do that. Because we have that kind of relationship, right? Mm-hmm. Don't do that. Nobody is telling kids, mothers, fathers, whoever, don't do that. Like, something bad happens, and I'm not saying it to argue against it, but, we blame the gun. No, I need your behavior, your activity, your, like you said, education, all those things. Somewhere it broke down. And nobody will stand up and say, stop this. Now, when you do that, it's wrong. Don't do it. It's like we can't tell anybody they're wrong now.
I completely agree with you, because here's the thing. Mayor Cavalier Johnson is one person,
right,
who should not be held responsible for what many of us should be doing as neighbors, as elders, as faith leaders, as parents, as educators. So we can't just hold the police accountable. And in a lot of instances, in a lot of cases, especially where you see teenagers, I don't think you should hold the police accountable at all, because in terms of, and I'll use your word, Dr. Ken, behavior, that comes from lack of love and lack of level setting expectations in terms of how you navigate as a human being.
Parenting.
So are we going to, at this point, rebuild? Or are we going to just, again, keep pointing the finger and asking the police officers and Mayor Johnson, why does this keep happening? Yep. When we should be, again, looking at what we're doing as parents, as neighbors, as elders, as faith leaders, as community leaders, and as educators. You are listening to The Truth Unfiltered with DT and Dr. Ken. When we come back, we've got more topics to cover, but this, trust me, will not go away. 15% increase in homicides in the city of Milwaukee. Stay locked in.
Get inside the mind of Mark Tauscher.
You're looking at May and early June. It's always kind of fun when there's, a little bit of drama.
See the world from his perspective.
You got a little juice. Kirk Cousins.
On Wisconsin's Morning News.
Kirk Cousins? That's prune juice. But that's more like, you're getting older and you need prune juice to kind of function.
Mark Tauscher, every day at 7:50. Presented by Hello Windows and Doors of Wisconsin and Kohler Services.
This change has leveled us up while being able to maintain the same quality of service that we've always provided, with no upfront fees and 1.9% real estate commission. We're proud to be part of the Century 21 family, so you can move fearlessly with the added confidence of top-of-the-line marketing for maximum home exposure. And that means more eyeballs and the real potential for the highest price for your home. This is Angela Calais with Century 21 Benefit Realty, benefit-realty.com, where you pay less for full service. Each office is independently owned and operated. With the ability to market luxury homes on a higher scale than ever before, Century 21 Benefit Realty has taken a huge step forward to tap into a global network of buyers. Maximum exposure to spotlight your unique home with our fine homes and estates marketing so you can sell it for the highest price. And with no upfront fees and 1.9% real estate commission, you win. This is Angela Calais with Century 21 Benefit Realty, benefit-realty.com, where you pay less for full service. Each office is independently owned and operated.
It's happened again. Another local organization switching to business technology from James Imaging Systems. This time, it's St. Anne Center for Intergenerational Care. CFO Sally Parente.
We were unhappy with our previous vendor. It was always a big production. We also had some issues with pricing.
And now with James Imaging Systems?
The service, the value, and the ease with which we can just keep using their service and not having any big headaches. We're getting value here as well.
Just what you'd expect from James Imaging Systems, a 100% Wisconsin-owned and managed company. AI-driven workflow automation, security enhancements, and digital transformation.
I love that they're a local company. They've been a wonderful business partner for St. Anne Center.
Make the switch to James Imaging Systems. Call 262-781-7700 or visit jamesimaging.com. James Imaging Systems, your local business technology partner.
Welcome back to The Truth Unfiltered with Denise Thomas and Dr. Ken Harris.
it affects what happens in our community. Their lives could be changed forever. Worse, they could change somebody else's lives forever.
You're listening to The Truth, Unfiltered. Citing Unlimited talk and text line is 855-616-1620. Dr. Ken Harris, Denise Thomas, and Herb, you are on Truth Unfiltered.
Yes. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Very good. I just wanted to make a comment that DT made. She went through a whole family lineage, like grandpa, grandma, parents, siblings. Seriously, somebody had to know that there was a gun in the house, and these guns ought to have trigger locks on them if they're left unattended. And obviously, that's where accidents can happen. However, if you're talking about things that happen in the community, it's the same sort of thing. You have to know that somebody has a gun and that it isn't part of their right to have it, be it if they're a felon or if they're underage. A lot of these things come into play and they're overlooked. And I didn't hear them talk to those points. So I think that's important. And that way, we retain our Second Amendment right. However, it's a privilege. And it's like you can't drive a vehicle and make an illegal left turn.
Having a right is not a privilege. Herb, having a right and having a privilege are two different things. So is this a matter of having a right or is it a matter of having a privilege? Just like having a driver's license is not a right, it's a privilege. So the right to bear arms, is it a right or a privilege? Because you said both.
And also, if someone is going to carry a gun, they call it carry concealed weapon, CCW law. So that if you don't have a CCW, you ought not carry that concealed. And there's so many that I never hear anybody. I have a CCW,
okay,
but I never hear anybody that if with all these shootings in it, that they never say, "Oh, they had a CCW and they were defending themselves" or whatever. It's just that they just have guns because they have guns.
So then, what is your point?
My point is that they have these things in place that should take care of some of this, and at least alleviate some of this.
Okay.
Where what you're presenting is that, well, it's just rampant and just give up. No. I mean, there's many things that are in place that should be enforced.
All right.
And
what did I say? What part of my commentary implied that we should just give up and go? What did I say how did that translate to that point, Herb? Because I'm lost now. I'm okay with you disagreeing with me, but if you're going to disagree with me, then use valid factual points of what I said, because I didn't say that.
Okay, but you went down a whole lineage of people. Grandpa, grandma, parents, everything. Now, who in that whole lineage didn't know that a 5-year-old had access to a gun that didn't have a trigger lock on it? That was loaded.
Herb, I used. Let me just say this: when I spoke about
there's a disengage with these parents, and people that are responsible. That
and guess what, Herb? Guess what? That's exactly what I said. I said this is not just about police. This is about what we are doing as neighbors, as elders, as community leaders. So I agreed with you. So where was the disconnect, Herb?
Right. Well, Herb.
Where was the disconnect?
Herb has.
Herb. Like I literally said exactly what you just said.
Yep.
And you said I went down the lineage. I said it's not about the police, Herb. Well, I agreed with what you just said.
Absolutely. And it sounds like he thinks people.
God,
that was a mother response. Ooh, child. When I think
how you
there's
gonna disagree with somebody and then agree with what they said, but say you disagreeing with them. But go ahead, Dr. Kim.
I think there's a disconnect because your child can actually have something in your house and you not know that it's in your house. Like you may trust your child and then your child ends up having drugs or finds some marijuana. Oh my God, there's a joint in the house. Like, so that can happen. That's not indicative of a parent that doesn't care. That's being a juvenile. But at some point, when you don't have facts, you can't make assumptions based on your life, what you think it should be, and what happens in your neighborhood and your community, and then transfer it to Milwaukee and say that's what should have happened. Everybody has this idea of what happens somewhere, and they don't even live there. This is how black people should handle. You've never been black before. You've never lived in that space. So it's difficult. I could talk about childbirth. I could talk about witnessing it. I ain't never carried a child in my life. I can't. I can sympathize, but I can't empathize. But it sounds like people think they can empathize with the black community. Oh, I can fix those problems. It's education. It's parenting. It's this. It's that. Think about this. Had you not put us in slavery, we'd be even with you, and then we wouldn't be even having this conversation. But anyway, I'm sorry. I was at my break.
I completely agree with everything you said. And Truth Unfiltered, as soon as Herb started talking, I was like, I hope he's coming from a position of experience, which you then validated my question. And it wouldn't have been healthy or fair for me to assume that based on Herb's voice or even where he lives that he's not had experience. But then once he started talking and he was like, I want to address DT and, she's talking about her lineage. And I was like, brother, I just literally said the exact same thing that you said. Yeah. But see, when you're so determined and fixated on opposing someone without listening, because I know a lot of times me being an intelligent, articulate woman, and then on top of that, I'm black and I'm blonde. That's already a trigger for a lot of people. Like, I don't even care what comes out of her mouth. I'm right. Confused. So again, everything that you said, and I literally prefaced that we cannot point the finger to Mayor Cavalier Johnson. We cannot hold him accountable. He has to address because again, that's not an increase. That's a red flag. Mm-hmm. He's the mayor. He's the elected mayor of a city that has a 15% increase in gun violence. So of course he's going to have to make a statement. And also he's a parent. He's a husband. He's a father of 2 young children
who lives in Milwaukee.
Who lives in Milwaukee. So when I say things like, if we're not going to focus on the Second Amendment in terms of do we need to reverse it, then yes, Dr. Ken, to your point and to Herb, is that the community is obviously going to have to rebuild.
Oh, yeah.
Because the city leaders aren't just the ones that are responsible for showing up. That's what I said before, and that's what I'm saying now. And it's hard for me to say whether or not I'm against or pro guns.
That's true. That's true. You can literally see both sides.
It's hard.
Of the argument. You can see both sides.
Absolutely.
Siding Unlimited talking text line. WTMJ talking text line is 855-616-1620. 3015 said, Denise, my name is blank, but I prefer not to be on the air. I worked in a home verification program for welfare mothers back in 1988 for 6 months. It was definitely eye-opening for me. Unfortunately, I don't have any answers. And then
thank you for your transparency, Kim. Absolutely. I appreciate your transparency.
0787. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and you know what, I appreciate Kim saying that because I was wondering who this was. it is hard to wake up every day and with the best intentions, you as a human being want to treat people with kindness, with respect, and with humanity, but yet you're constantly reading headlines.
Yep.
And so, Kim, you're not alone, because even as someone who is an advocate for my community and my people, I don't have the answers to. All I know is that now I will say this, and I'll stand on this. I do not believe that, put it like this, I believe that guns kill people. I believe that knives kill people, guns kill people. And I know people are like, no, there's a lot of people, no, people kill people. All I know is that when I was growing up, there was a big old tree in my grandmama's front yard. And I was just like, if I just cut down that tree, there'd be no more switches.
Wow.
Nick.
Wow.
That's all I got to say.
Before we go to break,
that doggone tree.
Oh, now we're going to blame the tree for something you did? Okay.
I did.
0787 said, what about if the gun was bought on the black market or stolen? You can't blame the person who owned the gun if it was stolen. Well, then the law has to say you need to report a stolen weapon as soon as you find it gone within X amount of hours. But then, I didn't check on the gun. Well, then that's why we need some rules in place and some protocol in place for all gun owners. You buy a gun, you need to check on your gun and record it some kind of way once a week. You need to, like, all those things. And it's unfortunate we have to come to that. And then that way, when you sell it, you have a record of it. And you could submit your record to the ATF and they can track it. I know people don't like to be tracked, and most people are libertarian and they want to have their own business. I say you do all that with a car. We do all that with a car already. Every time you ever get your car fixed and you get an email from somebody, hey, Carfax said that you need oil. Carfax said that you have to rotate your tire. Like, how you get my information when I went to somebody that because all of that is in a database and a system with Department of Transportation, and they have access, and you go in. But then when it comes to a gun, no, we can't do that. And I don't understand that.
Which is such an excellent point, Dr. King, because I promise you my next question for you and listeners such as Herb, okay, let's keep the Second Amendment. Mm-hmm. Let's keep the right to bear arms. And again, if you do not live in a neighborhood or have very little to zero experience living in neighborhoods where gun violence is prevalent, like Milwaukee, I find it interesting that we fund stadiums like American Family Field. We fund streetcars like the Hop.
Lambo.
How much money are we using in terms of our tax dollars to fund trauma recovery, to fund mentorship programs? Because I'm going to tell you right now, while you quick to focus on lineage and my verbiage of family, how many times have you said, you know what, as someone who has a CCW, a concealed carry weapon license in the state of Wisconsin, but yet is reading the headlines every day about gun violence. When was the last time you wrote a letter to your representative to say, I really would love to see more of my tax-paying dollars going towards this? When have you done that? When have you advocated for funding programs like mentoring people, mentoring these young kids? Because you seem to have for you, the fundamental root cause is parenting, lack of parenting. Okay. So then let's fund programs that will help children navigate through trauma, recover, have support, because love is love. And my son who rescued an English bulldog a couple of years ago, man, it was so eye-opening, because when he first adopted Ernie, Ernie was off the meter.
Mm-hmm.
And Love, over the course of 3 years, has turned Ernie into one of the sweetest dogs. So there's no denying that Love wins. What have you done as part of demonstrating love to help address this problem other than say it's the parents' problem? Because apparently in this state, in this country, funding stadiums and venues and streetcars is way more important than addressing gun violence. You are listening to Truth Unfiltered with DT and Dr. Ken Harris. When we come back, are we going to get into a new topic, Dr. Ken? Because you know we have a list.
Yes.
All right. We're going to get into a new topic. What is that topic? Stay locked in and you'll find out.
When you come to our showroom, you'll find more than a dozen glass shower door displays. Now that's what you're going to want to see, because browsing a bunch of options usually spurs ideas that you never even thought of. And when you walk around with one of our glass shower door experts, you can ask questions and get assurance. We're here to help. And after nearly 50 years in the glass shower door business, there's not a whole lot we haven't seen. So don't worry, your project's about to be put in the very best of hands. At Les's Glass Service, you can count on our experience that makes it easy to promise top-flight installation. Glass shower doors are our specialty, and we're out there humping it every day to add to our portfolio to make the next project even better than the last. This is Stacy Sinks. If it's a new glass shower door, fogged or broken insulated glass replacement, or affordable glass and mirror home decor that you've been looking for, you just can't pass on Les's Glass. Les's Glass Service, serving all of southeastern Wisconsin. Find us at lesglassservice.com.
Pain, tingling, burning in your hand and wrist, wakes you up at night, makes life difficult. Working with your hands is nearly impossible. If that sounds like you may suffer with carpal tunnel syndrome. The problem is Medicare pays for the old open surgery done in a hospital or surgery center. And it's no walk in the park. Big incision, 6-week recovery. I mean, imagine your hands being bandaged up, unable to use it for 6 weeks. So if you want to, you can have that old open surgery the government says to get, or you have another option. An ultra minimally invasive procedure done in the office that can give you immediate relief in 15 minutes and you are back to your life in just one day. The Ovation Technique, only at Ovation Hand Institute. You've suffered long enough. You don't have to put the fix off anymore. Visit ovationhand.com and see the difference with your own eyes. ovationhand.com.
There's an amazing supper club in Wisconsin Dells, Ish Nala, nestled among the pines and perched above the sandstone bluffs of Mirror Lake. The beauty, the history, the service, the food, the fun. Hi, this is Bob Prosser, owner of Ish Nala Supper Club in Wisconsin Dells. I've been a part of Ish Nala since 1973, and I am so proud to continue the tradition that began in 1953. Why not enjoy a brandy old-fashioned in one of our bars, each with a spectacular view overlooking Mirror Lake, or just relax before or after dinner on one of our outdoor decks. Our Ish Nala chefs have prepared your favorites: 24-ounce ribeye, cold water lobster tails, North Atlantic salmon, and of course, Ish Nala's roast duck. Thank you for making Ish Nala Wisconsin's favorite supper club, where the only thing we overlook is Mirror Lake. I'm Bob Prosser, and I want to serve you.
This is The Truth Unfiltered with Denise Thomas and Dr. Ken Harris.
Imagine that. I free all my sons. I love them, baby. Black diamond.
You are listening to The Truth Unfiltered with DT and Dr. Ken Harris. Dr. Ken, what are you doing? You're making me nervous.
So one of the things I did is I ran out and grabbed a cup of coffee. And then I came back
What are you doing?
And I didn't mute my computer, right? And so I literally heard her like 6 times. Twice, 4 times on the computer, and then twice in my headphones. And the producer looked at me. Here's the look he gave me, right? Most of the times he gives me a look like this. He gave me this. Like, really? Like,
I had no clue what was going on. I was confused.
I didn't either. I was like, what is going on? See, Dr. Ken, you got us looking like, man, first of all, the people in Los Angeles,
it's
can't catch a break, man.
So we were talking about this over the break, and we've got some audio from ABC News. So as I've been sitting here, I sent her a text earlier. Hey, have you seen the stuff about the riot? I was like, yes, I got to look at it, check it out. And then as I'm sitting here, rarely does this happen, right? Something breaks out in America, and like one station will get it over here, and then another station will get it over there, and you'll go, well, I guess it's not big enough. Fox, BBC, CNN, MSNBC, all of them are showing the fires that are breaking out in Los Angeles because of the immigration protests.
It is getting ugly. Now, as of 5 minutes ago, the Los Angeles Police Department began making arrests after declaring several of the protests were unlawful in terms of their assembly and authorizing the use of less lethal munitions. Now, Dr. Ken, what does that mean? Less lethal munitions as a law enforcement officer. What does that mean?
Beanbags, taser, flashbangs, gas, anything that will disperse the crowd without harming the crowd.
I just literally saw video footage of tear gas.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it was a crazy color. It was like thick and orange.
Yeah.
I was like, man, that looks potent.
Yeah.
There are several cars that have been set on fire.
Yeah.
You said the 405, which is like the major interstate in Los Angeles, that's been shut down.
They're walking across it. And they're on I-5 too, and they're protesting. So now all traffic. And if you're familiar with I-5 goes from Phoenix to LA. You can literally hop on and go. Well, I guess now you can't because they're blocking it. All this stuff is happening to the point where BBC is reporting live. It's got to be 8 hours from now? It's got to be like 4-something, 5-something in the morning, and they're reporting live of just the traffic backups, the fires, the sheer unrest that's going on in Los Angeles right now. And this is how it started with George Floyd. It started in Minnesota, and it worked its way across the world. I wonder, will that happen this time?
Well, immigration authorities and demonstrators have clashed for now 3 days in the Los Angeles area. And according to CNN, California Governor Gavin Newsom called President Trump on Friday. They had a conversation for about 40 minutes. And according to the governor's office, and along with Trump's claim, President Trump's claim, without evidence that he was forced to step in because California Democratic officials, including Newsom, were incapable of stopping the protest themselves. So Governor Gavin Newsom said that they spoke for 40 minutes. Trump is now claiming, President Trump is claiming that without evidence that he was forced to step in. And again, this has been going on. The immigration protests have been going on for 3 days.
All right.
And President Trump has deployed 300 National Guardsmen, and it is live right now. It is unfolding right now in Los Angeles.
And let's go live to the BBC report right now from Los Angeles.
Really just across the highway from where we are right now. There are cars blocking that entrance, and I would say close to 50 or more officers gathered just in that corner of this kind of mass intersection where we are. But, you know, it really seems to be that the officers are blocking the entrance to the highway, blocking the entrance to the federal, just not far away from where we are, which has been the center of protests. But at the same time, they're trying to allow for some freedom of movement, I think hoping that people will eventually just start to wander away. We're seeing people being able to drive up, take a look, take pictures, honk their support for the demonstrators, and then go ahead and drive away. We've seen a lot of cars waving their Mexican flags or American flags as they come through. But just focusing in on that center of attention over there, that does appear, you're right, Steve, that is, I think, we're going to see the next bit of enforcement.
And so even on other stations, you can see where their fires, their cars burning, and where the fire department is trying to put them out, where the police are staging, and where they've sat down and just cross the road, and they're all just sitting there and blocking traffic. And then traffic in both directions is now getting backed up. And it's about to get dark.
The fact that we heard from the British Broadcasting Channel, and which is evident that the world is continuing to watch America as this immigration protest continues to unfold. It used to be, Dr. Ken, where America was the land of the free. And the more and more that I watch the news, the more and more that I see global coverage, America, it's starting to look like a reality show. And, we're not the only countries that have global protests. Let me make that clear. You've got stuff going on in France, South Africa.
Oh, yeah.
But I've never seen this extent of it over the past 5 years here in America. So I know we got to take a break. When we come back, I want to hear your thoughts. Now that the world continues to watch America, the United States of America, that is known across the world as the land of the free, are we starting to get away from that? When we come back, I want to hear your thoughts, Dr. Ken. I want to hear your thoughts to our valued listeners and viewers. When does it get too much? You are listening to Truth Unfiltered with DT and Dr. Ken. 855-616-1620. Stagnant? It's not stagnant. What is it?
Exciting Unlimited, WTMJ Talk and Text Line.
It's not funny. We'll be back.
We get it. You're on the go, and life gets in the way. Stay up to date on all things WTMJ with podcasts of every show. Available on WTMJ.com. And don't forget you can stream WTMJ online and watch your favorite WTMJ shows on YouTube. Every show, when you want it, no matter where you are. We are Wisconsin's radio station, News Radio 620 WTMJ.
Give Dad the ultimate gift this Father's Day with Skill Power Tools from Menards. Take on any project with power, precision, and durability. Whether you're drilling, sawing, sanding, or driving, Skill Power Tools deliver top performance to help you get the job done right. Don't miss out on big savings. Shop Skill Power Tools today and grab all your must-have tools at Menards. Plus, visit Menards.com to check out our latest flyer and discover all the great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
I'm very familiar with Gruber Law Offices because they're always out in the community.
Gruber Law Offices are known to be honest, hardworking.
They're always involved in our neighborhoods.
Gruber Law Offices make our community a better place.
They are the best.
For nearly 40 years, Gruber Law Offices has helped people throughout Wisconsin. If you're injured, we're here to help. One call, that's all.
Wisconsin would not be the same without Gruber Law Offices.
I love a day on the water with friends, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis sometimes holds me back. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy.
Teaching music is my passion, but my active psoriatic arthritis can limit me at times. Now I'm treating my joint symptoms with Skyrizi.
With Skyrizi, most people with plaque psoriasis saw 90% clearer skin at 4 months.
Or if you are an adult with active psoriatic arthritis, Skyrizi helps you move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
There's nothing like clearer skin.
There's nothing like better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
You're listening to The Truth Unfiltered with Denise Thomas and Dr. Ken Harris.
You're listening to Truth Unfiltered. Siding Unlimited. Talk and text line is 855-616-1620. Thanks for listening here on 620 WTMJ and 101.7 The Truth. You can catch us here Sunday nights from 7 to 9 and Monday nights from 6 till 8 p.m. at 1017thetruth.com, WGKB. Peter said, Actually, the video looks like it's near the 101. Okay. Semantics. Does it matter? Like, I'm not really understanding. Okay.
After everything that we're talking about, that's what you heard. We're now talking about.
And this goes from San Diego to Phoenix, and Phoenix goes from to Vegas, and Vegas, and I don't know if anyone here cares enough talking about fires in LA that we are sitting on the exact. I get the point. Former law enforcement, I get it. I get it. To be accurate, I get it. No, to be precise, I get it.
Anywho, current President Donald Trump.
Well, former and current.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Former and current President Donald Trump has deployed over 300 National Guard into the city of Los Angeles, and people are, based on what I'm seeing on, what'd you say it was? I'm watching CNN, but
yeah, CNN,
BBC, Fox,
yep.
all the news media outlets, major news media outlets, and people are pushing back hard. They are getting loud. They are pushing back, and the world is watching.
You looking at CNN? It's just smoke. You hear that? Al Jazeera is covering it as well. Just
if you have not heard,
interesting.
And again, protests are intensifying in the city of Los Angeles, in the state of California, after President Trump has deployed National Guard. According to California Governor Gavin Newsom, he had about a 40-minute phone conversation with President Trump. And President Donald Trump said that we have to protect federal personnel and property based on these protests that have sparked by immigration raids. And this is the first time a president has called in the National Guard without a state's request or consent since 1965.
Correct.
As well as, and Dr. Ken reported on this earlier, 500 active duty Marines are also prepared to deploy. And so again, this is basically a protest between immigration authorities and demonstrators. And this has been going on since the last 3 days in the Los Angeles area. And a lot of people are feeling unrest. And so now, based on people who were detained by federal immigration agents across different locations, so now you have this protest, and you have President Trump, who again, not since 1965, has called in the National Guard without the request or consent from California Governor Gavin Newsom.
He doesn't need his consent, by the way.
I'm just reading.
I know Gavin Newsom says that, but he once you federalize National Guard, there's nothing the governor can do. He can send them wherever he wants. But because National Guard the state pays for, when they're federalized, the federal government pays for it. So it'll be interesting. 19. I don't know if I can count back that far. 25. Yeah, it's you go from one neighborhood to the other neighborhood to the.
And then you go from wildfires to now these. I'm just like, man.
And now the hurricane season is about to hit Florida. So that means the eastern seaboard, they got storms building up. The long range outlook ain't looking good.
Okay, we have to end today's show with some type of good news.
You got something positive?
I do. If you are a fan of tennis or just competition, Coco, is it Gauff?
Coco Gauff.
Is that the correct pronunciation? Coco Gauff wins the first French Open title, becoming the first American victory in a decade. Coco, she won the coveted Grand Slam.
Yep.
And the previous American to do it during the French Open was, of course, Serena Williams in 2015, the year 2015. Go on, Coco. Now, her opponent, Evan, do we still have that sound? Let's close this out on a good comedy note. Do we still have that sound bite? Y'all check this out. I was like, sportsmanship, you lose some, you win some. her justification in terms of getting defeated by Coco was she wouldn't have won if I didn't make mistakes. And I'm thinking,
that's the whole point.
Check this out. Don't take my words. Check this out, y'all.
And I got more windy, and also I think I was over emotional, and I think today I didn't really handle myself quite well, mentally, I would say. So basically that's it. I was just making unforced errors. Like, I don't know, I have to check the statistics. I think she won the match not because she played incredible, just because I made all of those mistakes from, like, if you look from the outside, kind of like from an easy balls. That hurts. I mean, especially when you've been playing really great tennis.
Wow. Then we can stop.
You know,
we can stop.
Wait, what?
She sure did. What? She sure did. She said, the only reason why she won. And I was like, did you hear yourself?
Hey, the only reason the Pacers won is because he took that last shot. Like, what?
That was her opponent. And I know I'm not correctly pronouncing this name, but I'm going to give it a shot.
Does she deserve to be mentioned?
Sabalenka?
She's number 2. Does she really deserve to be mentioned?
Coco put it on her. Go, Coco.
And then Coco tried to be all tough. Oh, I won. And then she started crying and fell out. And I was like, yeah, go on.
She should.
Get it out, girl.
That's emotional.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was outstanding.
First American to win the coveted Grand Slam since Serena Williams in 2015. Congratulations, Coco. We here in America, we're cheering for you. Congratulations. You won fair and square. And we can't help if somebody doesn't want to be sports woman-like.
Thank you, Evan. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you, Denise.
All right,
Thomas.
Dr. Ken.
Good hanging out.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure. Y'all make it a great week. Tell somebody you love him.
Love
we appreciate you tuning in.
All right.
I love you too, Dr. Ken. I love everybody.